The Committee on Finance is called to order, and we will hear Bill number 160767, and we ask the clerk to read the title of the bill as we ask Rob DeBow and company to come forward. Thank you.
Bill number 160767, an ordinance authorizing the bond committee to sell bonds at public or private negotiated sale to provide funds toward various capital municipal purposes, providing for appropriations to the Sinking Fund Commission for the payment of such bonds, authorizing agreements to provide credit or payment or liquidity sources for the bonds in connection with issuance of the bonds and certain other actions, providing for obtaining the consent of the electors to increasing the indebtedness of the city and fixing a day and providing for arrangements for holding the election for obtaining such consent.
Thank you very much. We now welcome Rob DeBow, Director of Finance here, and welcome him to give his statement, and thank you.
Good morning.
Excuse me one moment, Rob, I'm sorry. Chair notes we have a quorum. To my left, Councilman Bob Heenan, Vice Chair. To his left, Councilwoman Blondell Reynolds Brown. To my right, to my right, Councilman Bill Greenlee, and certainly to his right, Councilman Alan Dom. Thank you. Thank you.
Good morning, Councilman Blackwell and members of the committee. I'm Rob DeBow, I'm Director of Finance. I'm here today to testify in support of Bill number 160767. And with me today is Palin Chen, the Deputy Budget Director for Capital. The bill is exactly identical in language and effect to Bill number 1060610, which Council passed unanimously 3 weeks ago. The only difference is that it would replace the bill in order to fix a technical defect under the complex state procedure the administration and Council used to fund the annual capital budget for capital eligible items like trash compactors, street paving, commercial corridor upgrades, improvements to police and fire facilities. That state act requires a controller certificate be filed with the chief clerk of council prior to final passage of a bill putting the borrowing on the ballot. The prior bill passed and was signed into law without that certificate. This time the certificate will be filed before final passage of the current bill. The act requires a certificate to cover the expected impact on the city's debt limit. As with the prior bill, this bill seeks to obtain approval from council to place a loan authorization question on the general election ballot on Tuesday, November 8th. The loan question requests an increase in indebtedness in an amount not to exceed $184.3 million to fund the city's fiscal year 2017 capital budget that council approved last spring. State law requires the city place a question on the ballot before increasing its borrowing capacity. As of July 1st, 2016, our legal debt limit was about $5.4 billion, and the amount of debt applicable to that limit was about $1.7 billion. As a result, the city has debt capacity of about $3.7 billion. The FY17 capital budget for GO bonds is approximately $177 million. The proposed ordinance includes new GO loans in the amount of $184 million. If approved, the loan authorization would finance capital projects, and we show how they're classified by each category. In order to provide appropriate time to advertise the ballot question prior to the November 8th election, the bill should receive final passage by October 6th. Finally, attached as part of this testimony is the proposed ballot question requesting loan authorization from the electorate. Excuse me, I respectfully request that the committee give bill number 160766 its favorable recommendation, and further that rules of council be suspended so as to permit first reading at the next session of council. That concludes my written testimony, and we'd be happy to answer any questions the council might have.
Thank you very much. Are there questions or comments? Councilman Dom?
Thank you, Chairwoman Blackwell, and good morning.
Good morning.
I just have a general question. I just want to make sure I understand. The legal debt limit of the city is $5.4 billion, and currently we're at about 1.7?
That's right.
Okay, and we're looking to increase this by $177 million?
Correct.
And as a relationship to other cities similar to Philadelphia, is our amount of debt similar to other cities, higher or lower from your perspective?
So look at kind of comparisons to other cities. What the rating agencies look at in general is total fixed costs. So we're relatively high on total fixed costs because of our unfunded pension liability. Our debt by itself is not that high, but it's the unfunded liability combined with our debt that makes our fixed costs high.
Is there any kind of chart showing that, like we had last week, showing 20 cities relationship, like population of 500,000 to 4 million, and showing where Philadelphia fits into that model as it relates to debt?
We don't have that. We can put that together.
We get Matt Stitt to do it, maybe. He's good at those charts.
Sure.
Yeah.
It'd make it easier for us if Matt did it.
And so, as far as the costs, do we match up the term of the debt with the length of the life of the investment, for example?
We do, yes.
So we have parks and recreation that have, what's the useful life of an infrastructure in parks and recreation?
Right, so we have a variety of useful lives in the capital budget. You know, we have everything from compactors, which may be 10 to 15 years, to roof replacements, which may be more like, 20 years. So we work with bond counsel to make sure that the useful lives match up with the maturities on our bond issue.
So if we do these parks and recreation rebuilds, what is the typical useful life that we anticipate on a park or rec center?
So to be clear, the rebuild financing will be separate from this. This is not for rebuild.
Yeah, but in general.
About 20.
It's about 20 years for parks and rec facilities.
So if we do a park or rec in someone's district today, we're not anticipating having to do that again for 20 years. Does that hold up for 20 years?
I mean, I think it depends on what we're rehabbing. So if it's a facility, if it's a recreation center, it's a building, I think that is certainly true.
Right.
If it's some other, improvement, like a site improvement or otherwise, the useful life will be different.
And we're talking about averages, so
Yeah.
some will be more, some will be less.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. Thank you.
Cindy's here too. Cindy and David.
Thank you very much. The chair notes that Councilwoman Cindy Bass is here as well as Councilman David O. Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments with regard to this bill, 160767? I think this one will be kind of short and sweet, colleagues.
Those are our favorite type.
The chair recognizes, then we will conclude our hearing and into our stated meeting. And the chair recognizes Councilman Heenan for a motion on bill number 160767.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that bill number 160767 be reported from this committee with a favorable recommendation, and further move that the rules of council be suspended as to permit the first reading of this bill at our next council session.
Second.
It has been moved and properly seconded that bill number 160767 be reported from this committee with a favorable recommendation, and further moved that the rules of council be suspended to permit first reading of this bill at our next session of council. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it, and the motion carries, and bill number 160767 will be reported from this committee with the favorable recommendation and request that the rules be suspended in order to permit first reading at our next session. Well, we've done this committee meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for coming. Thank you all for speaking.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Yes. That's right. So the people who did the work